right. Before we get into all of the content, I want to make sure that you know who we are. My name is Kaylee Trammell. I am the Director of Grant Making and Community Initiatives here at the Quad Cities Community Foundation. I am originally from Springfield, Missouri. I grew up in Southwest Missouri. I moved to the Quad Cities 6 years ago now, and love it here. I get to make community impact through strategic grant making and love every minute of it. And when I'm not at work, I love to go out and listen to local music, eat good food, of course, and particularly low stakes competitive television. So I'm very into the Traders right now, the Great British Baking Show, anything that doesn't require much from me, but is still entertaining. That's what I like to do in my free time. I'm going to pass it over to Kelly for her introduction.
Everyone, Kelly Thompson here, Quad Cities transplant over nearly the past 20 years. Been at the Community Foundation for about 12 years. My work here is to connect for community opportunities in a lot of different ways. Outside of work, I spend a lot of time parenting lately, in the past 15 months specifically. And along with that, reading, spending time outdoors, enjoying our live local music and community theater. Next.
Thanks, Kelly. And I will pass it to Jenny to introduce themselves.
Hey everybody, I'm Jenny White. I'm the grant making assistant here at QCCF. Been here about 3 years. I'm a lifelong Quad Cities resident, so been here my entire life. I provide administrative support here. If you need help with logging into the grants portal, I'm glad to assist you. Things I like to do, I collect books. It also happens that I read books. Those things don't always overlap, but I'm glad they do with me. And I like to try putting new twists on my family recipes.
Thanks, Jenny. And I am very pleased to introduce our newest staff member. Today is her third day. Ann Berger is the newest person on our team, and so I want to give her the opportunity to say hello and introduce herself.
Thank you, Kaylee. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Ann Berger, and I am Davenport born, and we raised our family in the Quad Cities by choice. Bruce and I have 2 daughters who have recently left the coop, so we're trying to navigate that new terrain, happily so. I'm working with competitive grants and community impact, and I so look forward to getting to know each and every one of you. I too enjoy reading, as I am a former high school English teacher. I am enjoying friendships in a new way as an empty nester, and those friendships are front and center with dogs. I'm going to do a shameless plug for my husband's band. I think I'm the #1 fan, but maybe there are others. So I'm so looking forward to getting to know this community of wonderful people. So thank you for welcoming me thus far.
Thanks, and we're so glad you're here. You all will have a chance to meet her and get to know her better over the course of the next several months, and we're just happy you're here. We also have other team members on our team, Daisy Moran and Juanita Pasno with the Center for Nonprofit Excellence. And then my colleague, Steve Gotsent, who works with our donor advice funds, our designated endowments, and then our scholarship program. So a nice full team over here doing great work in the Quad Cities. So since we're all coming into this space with different experiences, skills, levels of comfort with grant making and with the Community Foundation, we want to set the expectations for how we plan to engage with one another today. So we'll talk about some group agreements that we're going to make with each other. So today we're going to prioritize learning and community. We're all in this together, so we believe a rising tide lifts all boats. We're going to cultivate open-mindedness. You have the freedom to speak in first draft. So if you have a question and you are not quite sure how you think it should be worded, please feel free to just ask it. We'll assume the best intent when you ask it, and we'll make sure that you get the answer that you need. We welcome your feedback, and we believe clear is kind. So we will be as transparent as we can be with you, and just ask the same in return. And the goal of our time together today is really to introduce you to who we are and what we do, reinforce what you might already know, and share some information with you about this grant program and the opportunity to learn from each other. So we're going to launch a poll here in just a second to kind of get a feel for how everyone is arriving to our meeting today. So go ahead and launch the poll there. You can see just how comfortable are you writing grants? Kind of just 4 sections there, pretty comfortable, still learning, not comfortable at all, or just coming into this space and not really sure how you're feeling. All right. When we kind of get close to the full participation there, Kelly, if you'll share those back out with everyone. Perfect. So we have, you know, a pretty experienced group of folks in the room today. So I'm happy to hear that. I hope that you all will want to share with one another and maybe want to share with us some of the things that you're hoping to see too. So thank you so much for being here. And we're going to jump right into just a little bit of information about what the Community Foundation does. And I'll let Kelly kick it off from there.
Thanks, Kaylee. Many of us, myself included, first get to know the Quad Cities Community Foundation through exactly these kinds of programs, our competitive grants programs. We always like to hold up that there are many other facets to how people and organizations can engage with the Quad Cities Community Foundation. Even if you don't take advantage of them all at once, we love you to remember at one point, like, I think that I might be able to check in with the Community Foundation about that. So we hope to offer these things both to nonprofit organizations, individual donors, people who care about what's going on in the Quad Cities. One of our biggest roles is, of course, as an endowment builder, whether for individual donors who are looking to build a legacy for the long-term support of causes they care about, for nonprofits who are looking to build long-term support for their own mission through growing an endowment here, or a reserve fund for that matter. We also offer services beyond the grant. Many of you that I see on this call have taken part in offerings through the Community Foundation, such as CEO Link and Development Link, as well as the other services that we've been able to build through the launch of the Center for Nonprofit Excellence, learning opportunities, sharing of resources, ability to connect with your peers. It's a little bit late for me to offer this, but just as a tip for next year, we offer over $600,000 in scholarships every year. The timeline, the deadline on that did just pass. But the good news is that most of our scholarships are available not only to people just graduating high school now, but who are at any point in their post-high school educational journey, current college students, people thinking about returning, people thinking about starting college for the first time at any point in their life, including bachelor's degrees, associate's degrees, and even a few things for post-bachelor's study. So if there's ever anything you're not sure if the Community Foundation can offer you, one of the people on this call or another one of our colleagues can probably help you figure out if it's something we can help you with. To that end, we always just like to note something coming up. So our next workshop through the Center for Nonprofit Excellence is Storytelling for Impact, led by Leslie Klipsch. You can catch this as well as all of our upcoming peer network groups, workshops, and educational opportunities in our calendar on our website.
Thank you, Kelly. All right, now to the good stuff. We are going to do just a quick process overview of the capacity building grant. Some of you are probably very familiar with this process. Some of you may not be as familiar. So we're going to go through it briefly here and then we'll talk through the steps in more detail. So just as a really quick overview, obviously the first step in any grant application is to determine whether your organization or your project is eligible. And if it is, we use an online grant system to to receive those applications. So all applications must be submitted through that system to be considered. If technology is a barrier for you or for someone at your organization, please call us and we'll help you get set up with what you need to be able to submit that application. The pre-application is due April 1st, and then as you can see, you'll be notified by April 15th if it moves forward. You'll also be notified if it's not moving forward, so we'll let you know either way. And then the full application for the spring, as you can see, is due June 1st. We do the same program in the spring and the fall. We do split it up into 2 cycles to be sensitive kind of to timing and to just when other grant processes are open. And then you can see, and we'll talk about this more in just a little bit, we move forward about 15 to 20 pre-applications onto the full application. So in the online grant system, if you haven't been in there already, you may have seen the 3 letters LOI. And so if you haven't yet, you will, and it stands for a letter of interest, but in this case, it is simply a pre-application form. It's submitted to determine your eligibility and the best fit for the program. So LOI is the language that our online grant system uses. We can't change that, but we want to be as clear as we can about what it actually is, and what it actually is a form. It's a pre-application. So we will continue to talk about it as a pre-application throughout the rest of the session. It is the first step in a 2-step process, and we do that on purpose because this grant program does have a limited budget. It has a very narrow scope of eligibility, and so we want to make sure that you're not spending time getting quotes and bids and board information and financial information for a project that might not be eligible or might not be the best fit for the program. And so we really use this as an opportunity for you to tell us what you're looking to do and be able to get an idea of what the organization is hoping to do and the impact that it will have without you having to go through all of the steps to get all of that information right at the beginning. So that pre-application, as I said, is due April 1st. 15 to 20 move forward to the full application by April 15th. So following the submission of those and the deadline of those on April 1st, there is an internal review committee, which includes the chair of the decision committee from the community that looks at these and pushes forward between 15 to 20 of those pre-applications. Those that move forward, the full application is due June 1st, and that's the application in which you will have all of that more detailed information that you'll provide. And then grant decisions are typically made or always made by June 30th. So you will know either way whether your organization has been funded by then, so that you can either plan to move forward with the project or plan to move forward with different funding. I will note that sometimes as a grant writer, you might want to know what's on the application before you start. So you can see PDFs of both the pre-application and the full application on our website. So once you kind of know what it is, probably the first question you're asking is, how do I know if my organization or my project is eligible? So 501c3 nonprofit organizations are eligible. Those are probably what most of you are representing today. Other types of nonprofit organizations who are considered charitable are also eligible. And then, of course, organizations who haven't received this grant in the past 3 years. So we'll talk a little bit more about why this is the case, but if your organization has received this grant since, let's see, 2022, your organization would not be eligible for funding this year. And if your organization receives an award this year, you'll be eligible again in 2028. So there is a little bit of a blackout period for this grant process, but typically organizations will find that out either beforehand, hopefully, or through the pre-application process. If you're not sure if your organization is eligible, please call. I would rather you call just to be sure than to submit a pre-application and have it not be eligible. Are there any questions coming up that I can answer before we move on? All right. So once you know that your organization is eligible, the next question is probably how much can you apply for? So each organization can apply for between $5,000 and $20,000, and it can be split over 1, 2, or 3 years. And so there may be several reasons why your organization wants to do that. Maybe the project that you're undertaking is going to take 3 years to complete. And you don't want to have to report on a project that's incomplete after 1 year. So you can spread the amount over 3 years so that that final report really encompasses all of the work that you've done. Maybe the organization just wants it to hit the budget in a certain way. There's really no strategic advantage to the number of years that you select to receive the award. It all comes from the budget in the same way. So it really doesn't matter to us. It's about what you need as an organization. And the annual budget for this grant program is $300,000 for this year. And we typically split that evenly or as evenly as we can between spring and fall cycles. All right, so you've decided to apply, you know you're eligible, you have the amount that you're going to apply for. As I mentioned, one of the reasons why this grant is only available to organizations every 3 years is because it's competitive. So I'm gonna pass it over to Kelly to talk a little bit more about that.
We love to give you just a little bit of a perspective of applications versus resources that we can deliver through this program. This is a really positive program for organizations that have gone through and been funded by it. We've looked back and done longitudinal studies over grants over the past 5 years and found that organizations do improve their capacity through the projects that they implement with these funding. We see organizations increase their revenue or decrease their expenses, maybe increase their program outcomes, whatever it was that their project is intending to enable them to do. And so over the years, we have increased the budget for this program. It started at $200,000. It was there for quite some time, moved it up to $215,000, $250,000, and now $300,000. And yet, based on the number of LOIs, pre-applications that we receive, in the course of a year, we end up funding about 25% of those initial requests. So it is quite a competitive program. That is the reason for that initial screening step with the pre-application, to bring forward to the committee a reasonable number of competitive applications so as to save time on behalf of applicants who might not have as strong an opportunity if we bring forward 4 times as many as can be funded. And for this reason, this is part of the reason that we do these info sessions, because we want to set everyone up for their best chance to bring their best case for funding. We'll offer meetings or offer information through these meetings, but we also offer and encourage you to get in touch with our staff, get in touch with Kaylee, and as she gets into her new position, Ann Berger. None of that is going to ever, of course, guarantee funding, but it is going to, allow you to check, discuss, game plan how you're going to bring an application forward so that you can make your best information to the committee.
Thanks, Kelly. All right, so you're eligible, you've got the amount that you're hoping to apply for, you've decided to go for it even though it's competitive. So the next question is, okay, what do you mean by capacity building, right? Everyone in this room probably has a different definition of what capacity building is, and capacity building is many different things. And so that is a really great question. We're going to talk more about what we mean when we say capacity building in this grant program. So capacity building means building and strengthening the systems, structures, culture, skills, resources, and power that nonprofits need to serve their communities. Okay, another way to put it is a focused effort that makes your organization better at its mission, both now and into the future. It's really an investment in the effectiveness and the sustainability of your organization. So capacity building projects through this grant program are really for your organization and your organization's ability to do your work and to do it in the best way possible. And so that probably begs the question, that's great, but how, right? Like, what do we do? What are the things that we do in capacity building through this grant program to make this happen for us? How do we build capacity? So in the application, we'll ask you to define the area of organizational capacity you're seeking to improve and what activity or project you're undertaking to improve it. So capacity building activities like board training and education, critical equipment, staff training, strategic planning, technology, those type of activities to improve these areas of organizational capacity, right? So collaboration capacity, evaluation capacity, governance capacity, looking at these activities in order to improve a particular part of the organization. So we'll talk about some examples that are de-identified, but that are actual examples that have been successful. So an organization who is hiring a consultant for DEI training and a fundraising coach for their volunteer organization. So they hired those folks. They're undertaking that training for the chance to improve their equity and fundraising capacity, right? So an organization who is utilizing off-site training for staff to address a specific need for the part of the community that they serve. So they're undertaking that activity to improve mission and strategy and program delivery. And I'll say at this point that thinking about sort of the differences between what an annual training for an organization might be versus a more specialized training for the organization. So many organizations who serve folks in the community have annual trainings that they need to complete, right? Your staff needs to have a particular training each year to make sure that they stay certified in the type of work that you do. And maybe it is funded by your operational budget, and maybe it's not. Maybe you have to fundraise for it each year. But that type of operational support and training wouldn't be the type of training that we're looking for here. This type of training would be sort of one-time, time-bound specific training that your staff needs to expand your capacity to do your work. Other examples include things like updated in software and computers, right? That can improve a number of things at an organization. Strategic planning and board training to improve your mission and strategy and your governance capacity. So really linking those activities with the part of the organization, the work of the organization that you're hoping to improve. What questions can I answer for you before moving on? Feel free to drop them in the chat. If we need to answer them live, I will. Sometimes Kelly can just answer them through the chat as well, so you guys can keep up with that. So we talked about many things that are eligible. There are a handful of things that I want to make sure that we talk about that are not eligible. So what's not eligible for the capacity building grant program? The funding for a new staff person. So we recognize that oftentimes increasing staff is a way to build capacity at an organization. In this case, that type of funding is not eligible for this grant program. So the salary for a new staff position would not be eligible. Similarly, bringing in an instructor or a speaker for your program is not eligible for this grant program. That's a better fit for another grant program that we have that supports operational and programs. Program consumables. So the food and the paper products and all of the things that it takes to put together sometimes these type of events, right? But those wouldn't be eligible expenses for this grant. Maybe equipment that's beneficial for the organization, but not critical to your mission. And then lastly, vehicles, building maintenance or improvements, or anything else that would be a capital expense for the organization. And we did an in-person session last night, and I described this as if you were to take the building that houses your organization and turn it upside down and shake it, if that request that you have would stay with the building and not fall out with everything else, it wouldn't be eligible for this grant program. And honestly, if you're not sure, please reach out. Like I've said, I would rather talk to you about what your project is ahead of time and have you be sure that it's eligible, or find out that it's not before you take the time to fill out the application. Any questions, anything coming up for anyone?
We have a question from Dan. He's asking, for the purpose of this grant, is there a preference for projects, software, etc., that aren't part of an existing budget, i.e. they wouldn't happen without this funding?
What a great question. So maybe is the answer. I think I need more information. So I'll answer generally, and then Dan, if you've got other details you want to share, if you want to talk offline, we can do that too. So when organizations are looking particularly for software updates, oftentimes it is either getting something new that hasn't existed for the organization before. So sometimes it's things like a CRM or a database software that hasn't existed for the organization, or a type of advanced software for the type of work that you do that wouldn't have existed without the organization. If it could have been built into your organizational budget, it is likely not eligible for a capacity building grant. Technology upgrades, we know that a lot of times nonprofits in particular, funding for new computers is often not there. And so that's part of the reason why that's eligibility for this grant program includes technology and software updates, because a lot of times that's not built into an operational budget and the funding for that's not there. So organizations that are working on computers that are 15, 20 years old are not able to advance their mission in the best way possible, because there is literally not the technology to support that. So the answer to your question is I need more details, but in general, if it can be built into the operational budget and is something that would be paid for every year or would be part of your budget every year, it's likely not eligible for the capacity building grant. Kelly, is there anything else you'd want to add to that?
I would add that we should come back to the question when we talk about evaluation criteria and what makes for the strongest application.
Perfect.
Because some of that is dealt with there.
Some good question, Dan. All right, let's move forward. There are some new things on the form this year that those of you who are experienced in this particular grant application, it will be new to you. So the biggest thing that you will find that is new is that in the pre-application, there is an eligibility pre-screening, is really the best thing to call it. There's a series of questions right at the top of the application before you even see any of the actual application and pre-application information that helps ensure that your organization is eligible for this grant program before you complete any part of the pre-application. What has happened over the past few years while I've been managing this program is that folks who are kind of in that 3-year period will fill out a full pre-application that is excellent, but is not eligible because they're in that period of time. Sometimes folks will apply for something that is simply not eligible for the program. And so the goal is really to avoid you submitting a completed pre-application only to find out that it wasn't eligible. So it's just a chance for you to check the boxes one more time before completing the rest of the pre-application. There are more characters where it counts. I know this is a balance for a lot of folks, but over the past year in particular, talking to people who filled out the application and expressed that they needed more space to share about the organization's commitment to equity and the organization's financial makeup or the financial situation for the organization. So both of those areas have more space for you to describe what's happening in your organization, any details that you think might be helpful for the committee to know and for you to be able to put forth your best effort in your application. And then overall clear questions that help you know exactly what we're looking for, and so that you're not guessing at what type of information you're hoping we might want, and that you're getting it right. We just ask clearer and better questions. Other things you'll see on the form are kind of your basic grant pieces, right? Your charitable status, making sure that your organization is eligible for funding through this grant program. Your organizational information. You'll need a list of board members, the number of employees at your organization, and then we do look at the number of people served and any demographic or other information you collect in that process. We'll look for project information, as much information as you have, right? So this is a pre-application. You're not going to have probably a full set of quotes, a full set of bids, a full set of even totally what you think you might do or what it might accomplish for the organization, but you should have enough to be able to share that with us and be able to kind of express at least what you think might happen. And then just a general estimated budget for this project. Like I said, it's probably not going to be exact because you probably don't have all the information you need. So when the application moves to the full application, you can adjust that, you can change it. It's rarely the same for an applicant in the pre-application as it is in the full application. What questions can I answer? I will note that if your submission moves forward from the pre-application stage to the full application stage, we are still asking organizations to collect and share their aggregated board demographic data. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in just a few minutes, but wanted to let you know that ahead of time, as I know that it does take time, especially if that's not something that your organization typically collects.
Haley, we have another eligibility question about
Sure.
projects. So the question is, I saw that furniture is ineligible, but I wonder about office redesign, layout, furniture that, like computers and software, will help the capacity of the organization.
What a great question. So as the eligibility criteria states, furniture, office furniture, things like that aren't eligible. And the things that could be eligible are the planning process for that, the hiring of an architect or someone who's going to help to support the redesign or the updates for your building. So sometimes when you're looking at a large capital project or a large building improvement project, you're looking at different sources of income to help to support it. And so this capacity building project can help you with that planning phase, but wouldn't be able to support the things like the furniture. That kind of falls into that section that talks about items that are beneficial to the organization but not critical, which I know can feel a little bit nuanced, but as far as the furniture is concerned, that's how that would shake out in the application. Good question. All right. So you've applied, you're getting ready to push submit, but probably wondering, what is the committee looking for? What types of information do I need to make sure that I share? So we're going to talk through that briefly here. Of course, the first piece in any grant application is eligibility. Is the organization eligible? Is the project eligible and a good fit for the grant program? We'll look at the mission of the organization. Is the organization serving the Quad Cities? Is it making an impact? Is it providing a service that is needed here? Is the organization committed to advancing equity through its actions and its leadership? We'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. Is this a good time for the organization and why? Why is now the right time to be seeking out this type of capacity building support? Maybe your organization is at a growth edge and you're looking for a board training to help your board be able to support the growth of the organization. Maybe you're looking for a strategic plan to help your organization be able to be strategic over the next 3 or 5 years, or a succession plan that helps the longevity of your organization. So why is now a good time? What's the impact of the project on the organization? and on the organization's ability to carry out your mission. So we'll go through an example in a minute about kind of what that can look like, but we'll look at the impact and what impact it will have on the community. A clear project plan, of course, and then what leverage or what other partners, funding, in-kind gifts does your organization have to be able to make sure that this is a success. And that can include other grants, and it can include volunteers, in-kind donations. Depending on the type of project you're seeking, it will, it will make a difference as to what that looks like for you.
So if I could just jump in and say,
Yeah.
Kaylee, going back to Dan's question, that sense of a project that isn't part of an existing budget and wouldn't happen without this funding might play into a couple of these evaluation criteria. It might play into those priorities and timing. It might play into how that impact of capacity building project is evaluated, because if a committee can see, wow, these are two amazing different projects that we are looking at, but it appears that this one will happen with or without our help and this one will not. That is, those are a couple of the evaluation criteria that might tell them to fund the one that wouldn't happen without the funding. So in that place, it's less about probably eligibility and more about competitiveness with other, when considering the evaluation criteria.
That's a great point, Kelly. Thanks for that. It's worth noting that the decision committee for this grant is made up of community volunteers, including people with nonprofit work experience. So they evaluate the full applications, they make the funding decisions for the types of organizations and types of projects that are funded. And we do that on purpose. We ensure that certainly folks who aren't actively applying for a grant, they're not reading their own grant applications, but folks who are aware of the state of the nonprofit sector, what it's like to be in a nonprofit right now, they're part of that group making those decisions, along with other people in other sectors in the community who are helping to inform the way that those dollars are distributed. I'll pass it over to Kelly.
Thanks. So the details and some kind of additional wording related to all of those evaluation criteria are available on our website on the nonprofit capacity building page for you to kind of tease out and get some wording about what might lead to a higher scored application related to that particular evaluation criteria. I did think that given, national events and federal funding and executive orders, it was worth just briefly addressing the evaluation criteria we use related to advancing equity. So that states the organization, and if applicable, the capacity building project advances racial and other forms of equity in the Quad Cities region through its actions and its leadership. Higher scored applications demonstrate how the people served by the organization are welcomed, included, and engaged in the decisions that affect them, and if applicable, how the capacity building project will improve the organization's ability to do so. We know that some organizations, especially those who receive federal funding, are experiencing pressure regarding certain words related to certain activities, perhaps believing or being advised not to collect or report certain information. We understand that there's going to be a wide range of responses that organizations have to take for that. We are going to continue to utilize this as an evaluation criteria. We will continue to ask some of the questions that contribute to evaluating it. If your organization cannot answer a question or needs to change the way in which it answers a question, we understand that. It may, if you absolutely can't answer a question at all, certainly that may impact the scoring on one of the evaluation criteria, this one, but it's not going to stop you from applying entirely. We are continuing to be in conversation with nonprofits in our area. We are interested in what you are experiencing and how we can be supportive. We asked the group who was in person last night, and none of those who happened to be there last night were experiencing that kind of pressure at this time. We've spoken to others who are. We are trying to be mindful of that. And so we offer you the opportunity to, if you can't answer a question, to explain why you can't answer a question and in what way you are thinking about how you, in this case, welcome, include, and engage people in the decisions that affect them at your organization. I'll just close this part by just saying, please continue to let us know how different actions at the federal level are affecting your organization, and we'll continue to pay attention to that.
Thanks, Kelly. With that in mind, and thinking about all of the other evaluation criteria and ways in which you can have a successful application, let's look at an example from a recent successful application that was submitted. We'll kind of go through the 3 pieces that our evaluators are looking for when they're reading your applications. So for this organization, they were looking to hire an outside consultant to facilitate a strategic planning process and to help develop a cohesive long-term strategy to operate efficiently within their budget and expand revenue. So when they, in that little section, in that one sentence, they told us how this capacity building project is going to improve the identified area of organizational capacity. They're going to hire a consultant and they're going to do a strategic planning process to operate efficiently within their budget and expand revenue. Those are the activities, that's the capacity they're building. They told us that their staff and board will discuss their mission and their goals, identify strengths and challenges, develop processes, all of the actions that they're going to take to move forward toward their vision based on that data collected. So they're telling us how that capacity will improve the organization's ability to carry out its mission. Those are the activities, that's the actual action items, the details that they are going to undertake to be able to make this a reality. And then they told us, after all of this, it's going to help us develop a more strategic plan, increase revenue, allow the organization to grow, and hire a paid executive director and other staff to execute its program. So they said to us, we're going to do these things, and this is how we're going to know it's successful. We're going to hire an executive director. And I will say that they submitted the report and they did. And so maybe that's not the case for every organization, but in this case, that was true. And so they said to us, how will it improve the area of organizational capacity? What actions are they actually going to be taking in order to do that? And then how are they going to know it's successful? We can't tell you how the capacity building project is going to be successful for your organization. So you tell us, what's your measure of success? How do you know that it was worthwhile to do that? Our goal really is to help you feel less nervous when you're talking about grants and just let you know that you can use regular, clear language like this to be able to express what you're hoping to do as an organization. So just say the thing.
Haley, we had a good
Yes.
question last night related to that example, and just want to be clear, we stated earlier that hiring a new staff position is not one of the things that you can do with this. And this organization was not saying that they did hire that paid executive director with this grant. It was developing the plan with the grant, working the plan, and then having the result of having the funding to be able to pay an executive director that they reported as their success.
Thanks, Kelly. And that's honestly a great example of the ways that this capacity building grant is designed to work. It's designed to help organizations work the plan, make the plan, work the plan, and to get to that spot where you can take action on the thing you were hoping to take action on. And so excellent point. In this case, it wasn't the grant that helped them be able to do that, but it was all of the work they did because of the grant funding that they could. All right. Hopefully that gave you a clearer framework of what we're looking for. And really this is a chance for us to share some thoughts, some tips with you. I know that many of you are well-experienced grant writers and probably have applied for this grant before, but want to offer the opportunity to share some tips with you all, and then really hold space for you to come off mute and ask questions if you have specific questions, share any thoughts that you have, and we have a few questions that we want to kind of pose to you as a funder as well. So the first thing that we always encourage is to take advantage of what already exists. If you have applied for another to another funder for the same project, trying to kind of pool funding together, use that language. If you have boilerplate language about what your organization does, please use that. You don't have to recreate the wheel for us. Use what already exists. Use a second set of eyes. So whether it's somebody else on your team, somebody else at your organization that maybe works in a different department, having someone else take a look at your application helps you know that you're communicating clearly and that you're not making assumptions about what the reader might know about your program, project, the organization. So if you don't feel like you have anyone, maybe you're a one-person organization, you're the only person on staff, please reach out. I would be happy to take a look at it. Give me enough time. Of course, that's not going to guarantee that your application moves forward or that it's funded, but I have read hundreds of them at this point and would be happy to take a look at it. And then it seems straightforward, but make sure you're answering all the questions that we ask. So we've tried to make them clearer, but make sure that you look at them, make a bulleted list if you need to. It doesn't have to be a narrative if that doesn't make sense for your project, but make sure you're answering the questions being asked. So in the last 10 minutes, I want to offer space for you all to ask questions, of course. But offer tips with each other. What didn't we talk about today that you might still wonder? And then is there anything that you wish that we knew as funders that you want to take this time to share with us? Feel free to come off mute or you can drop it in the chat. No, no additional questions. Kelly, is there anything that that you'd want to share with folks before we offer them the chance to have some time back in their days?
I have nothing to offer except thanks for spending this time with us, as well as thank you for really offering us the opportunity to potentially support the good work that you are doing. You know, people often think of it as seeking support, which we absolutely want to offer, but you are also offering us an opportunity to be involved in the great work you're doing, and we don't take that for granted. Thank you.
Kelly. I will say I can't see the chat when I'm presenting. Someone asked about the date for the most recent like eligibility for the grant. If you received a grant in 2022, you are eligible this year. I think I might have misspoke. I misspoke earlier. It's the year that you received it inclusive. So 22, 23, 24, you're eligible in 25. So that was my mistake if I misspoke. I try not to say dates in these because that's exactly what happens. So if you've got questions or are not sure, please reach out. I do have a just quick survey to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our nonprofit organizations with this session. I'm going to drop it in the chat here. You'll also receive it via email, so don't feel like you need to stay on just to fill it out. But let me echo Kelly. We appreciate you so very much. Thank you for the work you do for the community, for your organizations, and please don't hesitate to reach out and schedule a phone call with myself and with Anne to talk about your projects or any other questions or concerns you have. So thank you so much. I'll stay on until 1 o'clock if you've got a question, but otherwise enjoy the rest of your day.
How you guys doing over there?